The clock on the wall ticked softly, each second stretching longer than the last. Outside, the streetlights flickered, throwing pale shadows across the curtains. I sat on the edge of the sofa, phone in my hand, scrolling without reading. Waiting for a message that didn't come. Pretending I wasn't disappointed. I was in a relationship. A real one. Stable. Long-term. The kind people admire from the outside. We shared routines, shared meals, shared promises. But lately, it felt like we had stopped sharing ourselves. Conversations had turned practical. Touch had become accidental. Love existed, but somewhere far away, like a memory I couldn't reach anymore. I told myself this was normal. I told myself loyalty meant endurance. Still, loneliness has a way of slipping through cracks you pretend aren't there. That night, I hadn't planned on anything happening. I hadn't even planned on staying awake. I just sat there, lights dimmed, letting the quiet swallow me, wondering how you can feel so alone while technically belonging to someone. Then I heard it. A sound at the door. Not loud. Not urgent. Just hesitant. My first thought was annoyance. My second was fear. I stood slowly, heart beating faster than it should have. When I opened the door, he was standing there, uncertain, still, like he might disappear if I looked at him too long. A boy. Younger than me. Nervous eyes. Hands tucked into his sleeves. I didn't focus on his face, I focused on the way he stood, as if the world had taught him not to take up too much space. He said my name quietly, as though testing whether he was allowed to say it. I asked him what he wanted. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. He hesitated. Then said he just needed a moment. Somewhere warm. Somewhere safe. I should have said no. Every rule I lived by told me to close the door. To protect what I had. To protect who I was supposed to be. But there was something in his hesitation that mirrored my own emptiness. Something familiar in the way he avoided my eyes. I stepped aside. The door closed behind him with a soft click that felt louder than it should have. The house didn't feel empty anymore. It felt charged. Like something invisible had shifted. We stood there, not touching, not speaking. Just breathing the same air. I was suddenly aware of everything, my heartbeat, the distance between us, the life I had promised to someone else. Guilt stirred, quiet but sharp. Yet beneath it was something else. Curiosity. Recognition. A dangerous sense of being seen. I told myself it was just kindness, just a moment, just letting someone in. But as I watched him step further into my house, I felt it, the first crack forming and the unsettling realization that I didn't want to seal it shut. The house felt unusually quiet that evening, too quiet, like it was holding its breath. I pushed open the front door and stepped inside, shaking the last bit of cold air from my jacket. The sky outside had been a deep, bruised purple, the kind that made the streetlights glow earlier than usual. Winter was definitely creeping in. Even the wooden floor under my shoes felt colder than it should have. It was supposed to be an ordinary night, routine, safe, but something felt off, like a puzzle piece had shifted while I was gone, so subtle no one else would notice, but impossible for me to ignore. I stood in the living room for a moment, letting my eyes adjust. Everything looked normal: the soft hum of the heater, the faint smell of laundry detergent from the morning wash, the couch cushions slightly uneven the way he always left them, and yet, my chest tightened with a strange unease. Why does it feel like something is about to happen? I shook the thought away and tried to laugh at myself. Maybe I was just tired. Maybe my mind was looking for drama where there was none. Still, as I walked deeper into the house, I couldn't ignore the tension coiling quietly in the back of my mind. His door was cracked open. A thin line of warm light spilled into the hallway, flickering softly like it was breathing. I paused. He rarely left his door open like that unless he wanted to talk, or unless he wasn't there at all. Hello. I called out gently. No answer. I told myself not to overthink it, but the silence felt heavier than before. A part of me wanted to push the door open. Another part whispered that I shouldn't. That crossing that line, even a small one, could change things in ways I wasn't prepared for. Instead, I moved toward the kitchen. The window above the sink was fogged from the heater, blurring the view of the street outside. I wiped a small circle with my sleeve and stared at the empty road. Not a single car. Not a single person. It's too quiet. Why did that bother me so much? Moments later, I heard the front door close softly. I turned around sharply, heart jumping. He walked in, hair slightly damp, cheeks flushed from the cold, eyes darker than usual. His expression froze when he saw me. "Oh, you're home," he said, voice quieter than normal. Something in the way he looked at me made my stomach twist. There was tension in his shoulders, like he'd been carrying a secret all day and didn't know how to put it down. "Yeah. Just got in," I replied, trying to sound casual. He nodded once and walked past me, but the air between us felt charged, like electricity just before a storm breaks. I watched the way his jaw tightened, the way his hand stayed curled at his sides, the way he didn't quite meet my eyes. What happened to him today? And why did I suddenly feel like it had something to do with me? He paused at his door. Didn't go inside, just stood there. Then he looked back over his shoulder, just for a second, and that single glance carried something I couldn't name, something unspoken, something dangerous, something that would change everything sooner or later. I swallowed hard, and somewhere deep inside me, a question formed. Was tonight really going to be just another normal night? Because suddenly, it didn't feel like it at all. If you want, I can continue with the rising action, 1,200 to 1,500 words, next.